You know, one of the hardest things probably on a small farm, taking care of small animals, chickens, rabbits, and even just dogs, is the cold weather, right? So today we're going to be walking around, and I'm just going to be talking about some of the things that I've learned and I've done to sort of help us just be a little bit more organized in the winter, keep the animals safer. And big thing is, you know, water is a daily occurrence, and when it freezes daily, it just adds a little bit of an element of a little bit more challenge, right? So I'm going to talk about that a little bit as well. For chickens in general, so one thing that I've invested in, it's just it's not even that much money, is the little poultry waterers. So I've actually made a video on this, and I'm going to plan on doing an updated video to actually go over the instructions a little bit more clear. But essentially, they make little heaters that can go inside of your 5-gallon bucket for your poultry waterers. And so I've taken that down during the summer. Actually, it broke, and so I was going to go ahead and make a new one. That's why I was going to make another video. So I haven't got around to it yet, but now that we're going to have some freezing temperatures here in the next couple weeks, I'll have to start getting around to doing that. So as you can see, we have a waterer that's open. It's mainly for our ducks. As you can see, they like to swim in it. And so we'll be trading that in for the hanging bucket with the water heater here pretty soon, because this will start getting froze up. And for a while you can kind of hit the top of it and break the ice, but after it gets to be, you know, 10 degrees for several days on end, that basically just becomes a solid block of ice. And trying to keep it, you know, unfrozen is almost impossible. So I've found that just getting an extension cord and running it in here, and I'm going to go over that, like I said, in a separate video. But we'll be transitioning to that primarily after we start getting the cold temperatures. So another thing that I like to do, clean our chicken coop out. So I do a deep litter method, to where I don't have to, I just kind of continuously add layers of bedding, pine straw in the chicken coop, and mulch, like wood mulch, in the chicken run. And I just continuously add it when needed. And so in the winter, I like to take all of that out all the way down to the floor, get it nice and clean, and then I like to add another layer. So essentially, for one reason I do it in the winter, or actually fall, before winter actually sets in, is because number one, the chickens are going to be spending a lot more time in the coop. So having a nice clean bedding is going to be essential for them to maintain their health and have nice clean atmosphere. Another reason is I still have time to get everything piled up, because all that bedding is going to be used as compost in the garden, not this next year, but the year after that, because I like to let it sit for a while, because as a lot of people know, chicken manure is high in nitrogen, and so it has to set for just a little while and kind of compost down before it's actually safe to use directly on the plants. So I like to let it sit for around a year. So everything is kind of made a year in advance. So we'll be cleaning out the chicken coop. I might try to do a video on that. I think I have before, but just try to do another one, like maybe a little vlog or something of kind of getting ready. But this is more of like just straightforward educational. Again, even in the winter, we still let our chickens out. But here's something to keep in mind if you get where there's any type of predators. For around here, you know, we don't have bears. We don't have bears in the northern part of Missouri, but we do have a lot of raccoons, a lot of skunks, and they get hungry in the winter. There's not as much food available, and so they'll start really trying to probe our chicken coop. Any kind of little holes and stuff. Now's the time I really got to go around. I really got to check it. You know, I've lost a lot of chickens to raccoon predation, and so it's very important. If you think they can possibly get in there after they've worked at it for a little while, then you really got to repair it. So I've just been walking around kind of making sure, and I noticed that this at some point somehow or another has pulled out. Now I've got another layer of tin, but I can actually reach my hand in there and I can almost get in there. And I'm just thinking, if I have a little raccoon or something, it could possibly be working on this. So I need to add some screws to this to get that tied down a little tighter. And I also was noticing too that this tin right here, I can reach my finger in. So I need to do something about that as well. So furthermore, I've pretty much, for all my windows, I've put this over the top of it. Also, I have considered insulating the chicken coop. So if I do get that, I'll definitely make a video. I got kind of a unique way that I want to do it. Don't know if it's going to work, but I want to try it out. And essentially kind of reusing chicken feed bags. But anyway, I'll get to that in a later video. I don't want to get off on a tangent. So another thing that's kind of difficult about winter is that we have to make sure that we completely clean out the eggs on a daily basis, because it does not take very long at all for them to freeze. And that's another reason why, as you can see, this bedding's getting old. I really needed to replace it a lot sooner than I have. But when I do clean out all the bedding, all these nest boxes will get new, fresh stuff. And I want to make sure that they have, you know, some nice comfortable nesting materials, because it is cold. And, you know, happy chickens, they produce a lot of eggs. So we'll make sure to get that done whenever we clean out the chicken shed. Another thing that this fresh bedding does for in the nest boxes anyway, is it really makes for cleaner eggs. As you can see, this one almost has none in it. I need to add some more to that. When it doesn't have any pine bedding or anything, or any kind of bedding, they're a lot more susceptible to break, number one. And then number two, they don't have anything to absorb that manure. So you have a lot more chance of your eggs getting dirty faster. So now over to the rabbits. So we've recently, so last winter we went to these containers right here for water. And so the thing about these is they will plug in and they have a small heater inside of here, and it gets just warm enough that it will keep these from freezing up. If you freeze these up, they're a real pain. I mean, you got to essentially bring them back inside and let them thaw out in order for them to get the water out. They have these little nipples or whatever, these little push dowels that they can use to get the water. So those will freeze up, and these things, you know, about like a block of ice, you can't, the rabbits can't drink from them. So these little heaters they really work wonders. They keep the water from thawing out. So these are of course more pricey than, you know, your typical rabbit feeders, your typical rabbit waterers, but they do such a good job. It makes it so much easier. And you just add some water to these and everything stays, you know, unfrozen. So another thing that we do is I always save my grass clippings and such for the rabbits, because not only can they use them for like bedding, especially in the winter when they need some insulation, and they will actually, so you can see this one here, I've been giving her some, but they will take that insulation, they will put it in their hutch, and then it just keeps them warm and it more comfortable. And on the outside, you know, they're not getting the air coming up from the bottom, so we just make sure that they have a lot of this bedding, and they can actually eat, you know, it's essentially just grass, and so they'll pick through there. If they find something that they like, they'll eat on that. Which of course we have to replace, because, you know, if they eat it fast, we'll have to replace it. But it also has some insulative value as well. And this really cuts down on their feed bill. When we give them like fresh cut grass like that during the summer, it really cuts down on their feed bill. Now in the winter, you know, we switch to hay, and so hay's a lot more cheaper than the pellets, and it also gives them, you know, the grasses and different stuff that they can forage through and find, as well as insulative value. So we got these, kind of the outcast of the chickens. Looks like they got plenty of food, but we'll be right now we just got this for the water. They were supposed to go in with the regular chickens, but they got picked on so badly that we had to move them out here by themselves. And so hopefully, my plan is to go ahead and build them a new coop so that they have their kind of their own coop, which is a real pain that they can't stay with, you know, the bigger group. I think the other ones would peck them to death if they were left in there. My best option really is to give them their own chicken coop so they can kind of have their own space and just do what outcasts do. And so I haven't got their waterer switched over yet, but eventually they'll get a new waterer as well. Okay guys, so I know it's not super in-depth, but if you're a new homesteader, it's like your first winter that you're going through. So it kind of gives you just some tips and stuff that you can take to make it a little bit easier on yourself and a little bit more comfortable for your animals. So these are just some of the things that we kind of do to start preparing for the cold temperatures. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit.